And this is just all white, so like, do we even care about any of that? No. Let me just get rid of this whole node. Did it actually do anything? It looks like it did. The previews must be kind of lying to me. Alright, so we've got this down here. Got this, and this was what? Short ripple opacity multiplied and then added together. So we're adding. So short ripple opacity multiply out over here. So I'll add these and divide by 2. Just average them in there. Hello, Synchron. Yeah, I'm trying to combine all the normals together properly inside of this thing. And I think the issue is that I need to have these things start off. Are you talking about the 2D characters, Chris Goku? I think the issue here is all this stuff is black, and what we want it to be is we want it to be just blue. So we should have like some sort of add in here. I guess something like that, maybe. It's not the best. Yeah, I'm not really sure what you're asking there, Chris Goku, if you're talking about different texture stuff. Because for characters, it uses as many textures as is necessary to cover the entire sprite sheet. I guess what I need to do is I need to do a clamp here on this value beforehand. Like if I do a clamp and then a multiply here, does it change how it looks? No. So I should do like a clamp here. And I can take this clamp out entirely. And that should preserve that color, yeah. Whoops. Just like randomly slammed keys on the keyboard and then it did things that I didn't really want. So if we do this operation here, yeah, I think I'm starting to get a little bit more sane normals getting applied. Of course, if I look at the actual surface in in the game, it's doing stuff. But it's kind of crazy how much the normals can actually change the entire picture on this thing. Anyway, I'll have to figure it out. Like, this looks okay. It's got to be something else coming in. Yeah, this ad is something screwed up. Yeah, I have no idea what you're talking about, Chris Goku. I assume you're talking about baking textures or something like that with your stuff and throwing out some words just to have some fun. Alright, so what I need to do for this guy is I need to like add blue to it, I think. Because, I don't know, I haven't done really anything with normals, so I'm not sure the right transforms you're supposed to do to, like, average things together properly and all that, so I'm kind of... Because from what I understand, like, Z is outward from the surface, and so you should basically start with a blue color and then, you know, morph towards this thing, because we're combining a whole bunch of effects. It's not exactly clear to me exactly how you're supposed to add all this bullshit together. So I'm going to kind of approximate it, and I'm not sure if it's correct. But I can kind of, learn what I'm supposed to do. So like this is what it would look like. Alright, so it looks like there's a negative value coming in here, screwing everything up. So I guess I have to clamp this thing from 0 to 1 before I do this operation. So when I add this in here, it should just be all blue. Yeah. And if you're wondering what hardware I'm running on, I got two 980 Ti's on there. We really don't need that, do we? So we multiply this even more. And that's our normal map. If we divide by 2, what even happens? It just kind of fades out. I think we want to just add. So let's see what that looks like. Yeah, it doesn't look like it's really doing a whole hell of a lot. That's for sure. Well, let's get these other normals in there then. So let's see. Where are those normals coming from? That's like the rough water. So it's going to be these two textures here that are moving. Let's make sure we're all saved up. I've had way too many damn crashes here where, because I clicked on the wrong thing inside of the material editor, Unreal freaks out on me. Alright, so how we do the water motion is these two panning textures. So we're going to want these noise normals. Let's see if we just add them together, what happens. That's looking right. That looks okay to me. Alright, and what is this multiply here? This is the mask? Yeah, okay, so we need to multiply these things before we add them. Is this clamped? I guess we're gonna find out. Alright, so these guys are looking like that. It's a vector length, so it should be 0 to 1. Or, like, we're not going to get a negative number at least. Alright, so we need to do a multiply here with this direction opacity garbage in order to actually find the normals. Kind of like that. Wait a second. Do we need... Like, we've already normalized everything to blue with this thing, so we don't actually have to add anything, I don't think, over here. Yeah, we should be just fine. And then we just add this in as well, perhaps? So with everything added together, it looks like that. Well, let's see what it looks like in this thing. So this rougher water area stuff does actually have a lot more normal noise stuff, which is what we're looking for, is that sort of effect on there. So that's doing what I think it should. Cool. How do the transitions look? Just, you know, same trash deer as always. There's not too much going on with the normals on the surface here for this thing. We might need to apply a different texture for that. You're going to be going to E3. When is that? What, in June? So what, that already happened this year? So the next one is June next year? So are you going next year? I've never been to E3. I've gone to GDC like maybe 4 or 5 times. Which, after a certain amount of going to GDC, you just stop giving a damn about GDC, to be honest. But definitely worth it in terms of if you've never gone. Alright, so if we got those surface normals, we're going to need the normals for the other part of this thing. I think the averaging of the normals doesn't really work, so kind of the strategy for normals, I think, is just add them all together and then let this thing normalize it at the end. So perhaps I should be not doing so many divides and garbage like that. I should just try to weight these things a little bit. Yeah, that's like PAX, I think, one year. Like there was the quote unquote PAX plague. Like everybody who went to PAX got horribly, horribly sick because the demographic for gamers and programmers, um, especially the college-aged crowd, do not take care of themselves or shower properly. So I don't think it's an American thing. It might be, but it'd be like American basement dweller sort of. You know, whenever you see somebody wearing some of those big dog shirts walking around and they weigh like 5 million pounds, you know, if you go on 4chan and you read about people who live horrible ways and you think that's a joke, it's probably not a joke for everybody. The people of Walmart is a real thing, and those people exist and they go to conventions as well. All right, so this other effect, basically, I've got this effect on the water. I want to get the normals right for it as well, so I can kind of mess with stuff. So this is using the Perlin noise texture, so I'm gonna need that one again. And this is just a big texture. And what are we doing with this? Like, this isn't moving, but this is. What the hell is going on with this thing? So we've got this sine, cosine, all sorts of garbage here coming in. I mean, do I want to just like slap this into as a UV coordinate field here? Like, what does this even look like if I just put it in here as texture coordinates? It's not what I want. Alright, so I have to look up because this effect is kind of odd. I don't know if I have a very good approximation of what the value should be on this texture. So how in the hell are we getting this motion? We're getting this time and we're adding in a surface speed and then we're passing it into a sine and cosine function, multiplying by 0.1, adding some other shit to it, and then doing what? Well, I don't have to match this thing perfectly, I just have to get something close. So that's coming off of that multiply. This is sine, this is cosine, and what do? We multiply and add? So is it this node here? Not necessarily. I need to convert this stuff into texture coordinates, or I need to use the same calculations based on the same input data for the normal map. It's like I grab the normal and then do stuff with it, which I really don't know how this is going to work, because this is pretty much the effect we're looking for here. So let's see if we can massage this into place. That's fucking hilarious. That doesn't work at all. Should this be a multiply node? Nah, we need to like... This is a very odd effect. Maybe I just need to do something simpler. Like, do a multiply like this. You know, just like take this thing at the end of this and just multiply it straight up by the vector that we got passed in. I think that'll do it. So if we combine those two together, it should do kind of what we want. Alright, so we then need to add this in here. So we want to multiply this by surface noise opacity. And then we want to add it down here. And of course this is a 0, so it's not going to have anything in there to add. Well, let's see what everything looks like when we add our surface noise at 1. And our surface noise is like kind of this effect here that we put in. Doesn't really work for kind of moving water like this, but it could be useful for other things. The other thing we could do is have the surface noise stuff here do a little bit different sort of effect. Like we could just apply its normals and not apply its color, or we could change the actual color of the surface noise. Let's see. Is the surface noise even ambient noise color? Let's just grab this rough watercolor and paste it in here. Something like this. I've never been to E3, what a shock. Nah. I don't know, E3 is like, what, electronics and stuff? Not really. I've been more interested in doing things than buying things, I think. Alright, well let's mess with the shore a little bit on this. Get this effect affecting the shore a little bit more. Yeah, I know, that's when they show off major console games, but you know, I haven't really been interested in, you know, seeing the latest Call of Duty fish AI. I've been more interested in, you know, how the lighting works on some random thing, you know, stuff like that. E3 is much more of a show than a technical technical deep dive on stuff, which is why I don't really care all that much about it. Alright, so the problem is this effect is going to like this. So it's this black area that is canceling out what we want. Alright, so we're either setting this to 0. What if we set it to 1? Nope, not doing anything there. We set this to 1? It would be like this. So what would this look like? Let's see what that looks like. Well, it really doesn't matter how powerful the PS3 was. It was not useful. Like, if you have all this power but nobody can use it because it's too damn complicated, they're just not going to use it, and it's just not going to be successful. Like, one of my friends was in a he worked for a studio for a couple years down in some place in California, and all he did was he took games that EA made, and they would make their game running on like the Xbox, and he would port it to PS3 because nobody could get it to work right, and EA would just ship it off. Big companies would just ship it off to them, and they'd be like, make it work. We can't have people worrying about making this work on PlayStation all day because it's just not cost effective. We just can't do it. Just those people don't exist. The people who would be interested enough to actually do it, and not. So the first games. Yeah, when you got studios like Naughty Dog, right? Then they do everything on the PS3, and you did all the crazy shenaniganry, like, oh man, there's this amazing, footprints in snow, and all this bullshit. And, like, that's pretty cool. I don't know. It's just one of those things that I'm always pretty skeptical on. There's the same thing in like one of my past projects at Amazon, where it's like you can do all this stuff with code, and at the end of the day, your character, it's like your character's just jumping around. Like, who gives a shit if you got some crazy, ridiculous stuff? The game isn't fun. Nobody's gonna care. Nobody gives two shits about it. It just doesn't matter. Alright, well, I think I got the normals set up properly on this thing. So I think the next thing that I need to do here is I want to see if Adam's available. Maybe I can talk to him real quick. The next level of code, sell broadband. So let's see what Adam's up to, if I can ask him a question or two. Anything interesting? You're working on Salesforce integration. Kindle 456. What are you talking about? Salesforce integration is the most fun thing on the planet. You know, just it makes everybody want to just murder themselves. It's so, how could it not be interesting? How could it not be super fun? Yeah, one of the other super horrible things that about the PlayStation 3 there was like the UI and stuff like that. People had tons of problems getting UI working. Just look at like Aliens, Colonial Marines, right? Like there are some horror stories about that. All right, so I think Adam and I are going to jump on a little bit of a call here, and we'll see how this works. So if you've got Adam's stream open or whatever, maybe you'll hear a lot of echoes or some bullshit. I don't know. We will see. There was a lot of things with that time gate thing that was rough. Hello, Adam. How's it going?
Let me turn Sleeping Dragon off for a sec.
So I've got you on my stream.
All right. Hi. Oh my God. Brian just subbed. I've got to do a bitey kiss. Can you give me a sec?
Oh, Jesus Christ. Yeah. Take your time.
I won't take my time. I'll do it quickly because Brian is a good friend. Actually, I don't know who Brian is, but hey, Brian, thanks so much for the sub. I'll do your bitey kiss when I finish talking with Kirk, right? Is that all right? Because he's busy. Thank you so much for the sub, Brian. Yes, I'm talking to Kirk. Kirk is the developer on the game. He's doing all the crazy technical stuff and wants. Oh, thank you, Karakan, guys, in the chat. If you want to see the multi-stream, that's me and Kirk streaming together on that link there. So I'm going to turn off your audio on that stream. Turn off mine. Oh, yeah. Okay. I've got you. I can see what you're doing.
All right, so this is kind of what I got going on right now. I added the normals and the rest there. I had a question about how are you doing like the noise for some of these things when we had these.
You mean what effect we want on the surface of the water?
Yeah, so like we've got these two textures that are panning past each other here, like this. What was the technique you were talking about to not make them all look ridiculous, like they're overlapping?
Oh, it's just yeah, with overlapping stuff. I think if you just scale one up slightly, like make them slightly different scales so they don't do exact same thing.
All right, so just like throw a constant off here onto one of the UV coordinates.
Yeah, to scale. like by 1.2 or something should be enough. Um, but as far as an effect on the surface, I mean, if you look at the cavern background, there is no real surface effect. Really, everything that we need to know about that being water is a reflection, and um, you could have you could have an effect, a surface effect like that noise effect, but I'm not sure it's entirely necessary unless we start distorting the surface for reflections and stuff.
Yeah, the I'm not that screws up all the planar reflections and everything else if we start moving that
If we
surface.
start distorting, yeah. I'm
Yeah.
happy to have complete glassy surfaces, and then we'll just. Did you see the waterfall yet?
No, I haven't looked at it.
It's in the level assets level if you wanted to check it out, but it's got the waterfall in there just with a reflective surface. Um, but those ripples that are on that, I did ripples with a particle. I did ripples as a particle effect, and where is it? Let me open it up.
We have the not programmer art ripples.
Yeah, it's just a particle ripple, and it gives a hand painted look. And um, I think any surface effects, I think we can just do with hand painted stuff. Um, and we don't need to go like we don't need to generate if you can't, you know, if you're having if it's a pain in the ass kind of thing, then yeah. See,
Yeah, that's what I was talking about, the refraction on these things. This refraction does really odd stuff.
I actually like that. Are
Oh, you,
you? Is that working for you, or I mean, it looks okay to me.
oh, that's another thing. Is to my eyes, a lot of things may look like, oh, that's
Yeah,
wrong, but it may be like, no, that's exactly what we want. So that's another thing that why we have
yeah,
somebody who knows art on the team.
and someone who knows programming.
You know,
Um, yeah, well, if you look back at the cavern concept art, you see that's exactly what the refraction is doing. It's um, it's just distorting the background in a real streaky way, and we can. I've got a parameter on that refraction so that it can be softened and smoothed out a bit, and there's other stuff I could probably mess with. Um,
all right, cool. So
Yeah,
I can
so I
start
think
messing with that.
that's working, but it, could probably do some more stuff to it and put a tint on it to make it look deeper and all that kind of thing. Because at the moment it just looks like a glassy sheet. But yeah, we can do all sorts of
Yeah, it's just a color.
yeah, I think so. And I think those ripples, because they're particles, if you could spawn that material, that ripple material or that ripple particle, if you could spawn that around the shoreline, that might do for ripples around the shore.
Oh, some of those.
Yeah.
Uh, well, I was gonna look into doing some decals and some other stuff, so I might be able to. We'll see though.
All right.
I don't know, the shoreline stuff when I was messing with it. That's I guess kind of the next thing is I can take another stab at that, but I've done about like 3 stabs at it, and they all kind of look like garbage.
Right.
So
Yeah. Well, I don't. I think. I think I saw what you were trying to do before, and it looked like you wanted to do a lapping shoreline, like a kind of ocean
yeah,
shoreline.
your animated texture thing was
Oh,
kind of like what I was thinking, but
right. Right.
that's the only thing I could actually get that actually looked anywhere near okay. But it's like that's not going to work for this
Yeah. Well,
situation.
for pools and ponds, I think the shoreline is not going to move at all. We're not going to need a lapping shoreline, and especially if the water is glassy and like fairly still, we don't need any lapping or movement of that shoreline. We just need to show that it's water contacting um, an object like a rock or a shore, and we could just like run an effect over it. It doesn't need to actually lap. I don't think anyway,
Makes sense.
but we'll see. Yeah.
So some of the things that I got in there are like, you can see the normals here are actually affecting the lighting for some of that.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Okay. That's that's
So we got
shit,
that
man.
going on.
That's really impressive, but we might want to knock it back a bit just to kind of smooth it out. If that's because if we have movement in the surface, then we'll want to, it might look weird that there's no movement on the shore, like you said. Um, so the surface normals might need to be smoothed out, kind of like the same way my refraction needs to be smoothed out. But that's amazing.
So that's what I can do with the normal intensity stuff here.
Oh shit, yeah.
So it's now less intense normals on that.
Right.
And the rest of this sort of thing, I might want to cookie cutter that out with the intensity texture. So I've got like this thing, I can take all that out.
Yeah, I love that that noise texture, the kind of glistening particle, like real grainy stuff. I actually like that. I maybe want to use it somewhere, like for glowing stuff on the surface of cavern water.
Well, it's this.
It's there.
Yeah, it's right
Oh
there.
shit.
It's just, well, it's actually just this right here.
Oh, is that all? It's just that.
Well, this one's actually not too bad. This section here, we're just taking a texture coordinate, multiplying it, so this is, smaller, and then it's literally just a speed times time with sine cosine function. That's it. We just take this random starting noise, and then we basically just move with sine and cosine and a speed. So it's
okay.
If you actually like wrote it down on a piece of paper, it would be pretty simple, as opposed to horrifying.
Right.
Like
so just
the rest of this.
Horrifying there in the context.
Yeah, this is totally simple.
Yeah. For you.
Actually, no, it's not. I have no idea what the hell I'm doing half the time.
Yes. All right.
So I'll cookie cutter some of that out there, and I'll take another stab at the shore ripples, and I'll see what you think later.
Okay. Yeah, I'll just leave. Yeah, we can just talk in Discord if you want to talk on stream. And I'm pretty sure everyone in my stream can hear you, but there's some people saying that I'm a bit quiet on your stream by the looks.
Oh yeah, I turned it up.
All right, well, I'm doing caves. I'm not sure whether to do a cavern mesh or just to put rocks everywhere like yours. But yeah, that's what I'm working on today.
What do you mean? What's wrong with the cave? It looks like
nothing's wrong with it. I mean, Caracan calls it the Pebble Cave, so I'm sure that's probably what you've called it.
I don't know. I think it looks like an ankylosaurus.
All right, yeah. And ankylosauruses are cool.
Yeah, that's my favorite dinosaur.
Yeah.
Anyway, cool. I would say just try to do a mesh yourself, and use the cave, use the pebble effect. Like this is just like, me roughing crap out, like what you do if you're trying to get the general idea of a shape. You just like, if all you got is paper clips, you're gonna build stuff out of paper clips.
True. All right. Well, I'll try and make a cabin mesh then, just a room, and then fill that out with stuff.
Yeah, I don't know if you can do the texture painting, the vertex painting nicely and something like that. Who knows?
Oh yeah. Okay. Yeah, we'll see. All right. I'll let you get back to it then.
All right. Later. Thanks for dropping in.
No worries.
I don't know who that was. Alright, let's see. I'll get back to normal operations here. Anyway, thanks for hanging out while we're doing all this. Alright, so the things that I'm going to be working on here, I'll get that waterfall in after do all this. So I want to cut the mask out on this thing. So try masking out the shimmer effect. And take another stab at edge ripple. And I'm going to see what I can do with that. It's totally simple, works on it several weeks. I don't know, Karakan, it's a lot of this stuff was learning, like in the actual water shader itself. Once we had all the information together, the water shader itself hasn't been too incredibly ridiculous. Like, we've actually made quite a bit of progress making effects without spending, you know, an incredible amount of time on it. So I think some of these things are going to be, so you got surface normals. We'll try masking out that shimmer effect. And I want to parameterize all the things. And so some of those are going to be like a global direction for panning textures. So we're going to have surface noise, shore edge, watercolors, motion, etc. Don't let me bug you. Nah, it's all good. Alright. And we're also going to want the noise sizes. Alright, so if we're gonna, the next thing we're gonna do is we're gonna try to mask out this stuff here. We should actually be using this multiply, I think, in here. Yeah, we got this wrong here. Yeah, that's looking much better for the values. Let's see what that does to our normals. It should make them a little bit better here. Yeah, it's looking correct. Maybe I can do an exponent here. Set this to power of 2. Yeah, that's giving me a much better effect on the shoreline. So it's not just horribly ending. Alright, so if we want to mask this thing out based on some of these things, so the alpha channel here, actually has like maybe a mask here. So if we did like 1 minus this, we'd get a mask maybe that we can use to apply this effect. So we'd want to throw a multiply in up here, I think. Let's see. And this mask right here is, we've saved in our texture, this is the turbulence in the alpha channel for our particle sim that we used to actually create this thing. So let's do a multiply in here. Let's see what we can do with this. I think that's looking okay. So let's see how it looks in the real fake world. Yeah, that's looking like what I want. Kind of the idea here is, I like how Control-Shift-S is supposed to save everything, but it's obviously not because we still have stuff that's not saved. It's like Control-Shift-S doesn't actually save everything when you use the Hive key, but when you actually click it in the UI, it works. That's just so dumb. What we're looking at is basically this area over here is not turbulent, so it actually has surface shimmer stuff on it. Alright, so we mask that out. So the next thing to do is to take another stab at edge ripples and crap like that. Alright, well, I will be right back, and then I'm gonna hopefully mess around with this edge ripple stuff a little bit.